Hi, I'm Jen Leong, licensed marriage and family therapist. I am based in Long Beach, California, and I'm here today with my friend and colleague, Martine Evans, who's also a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she's based in Southern Orange County.
Hi.
So today, Martine's going to ask me some questions about grief. I have no idea what the questions are. We'll see how it goes.
I do have some questions for you, Jen. The first one, I think, is I've heard you talk about grief, and I've heard you use a phrase called complicated grief. And I don't know what that is. How do we know if our grief is complicated?
Yeah, so complicated grief, let's start actually with what is healthy and normal grief. Healthy grief is uncomfortable, and it's painful, and it is what most of us experience. It is the grief that we can be overcome by sadness, we can be overwhelmed by unexpected tears, and yet we're still able to engage with the world in a way that is healthy and active. So like I could still, if I'm grieving, I could still get together with you and spend time with you.
So you could make it to work.
I
You
could
might
make
feel
it to
sad,
work.
you might cry, but you could make it to work.
I could make it to work.
Okay.
I could make it to work, I could make it to social engagements, maybe not all of them, and I probably want a backup plan for how the heck do I get out of here if I need to. But I can engage in all of my regular activities.
Maybe
over
on a
time.
small and growing basis.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, with complicated grief, that small and growing doesn't happen. So it stays like it's right after the death. And that's when like I can't engage with the world. I feel like I can't go back to work. I feel like I can't sit and have a coffee with you. Or it starts to manifest in ways that look like depression or possibly anxiety. And those are things that are complicated grief.
How does a person experiencing complicated grief make it out into the world enough to get help?
It's hard. Most people will find things like this online. So we're going to go...
So they don't have to leave their home.
No, you don't have to leave your home. Because you can find a video like this, you can listen to people talking about it, you could read a book, and if you're wanting additional support and you're wanting interaction, there are online grief support communities. So you can find different forums where people are talking to each other. And then if you're looking for therapy, which is highly recommended for complicated grief, someone like myself does online therapy. So you can find that.
So you could do it from the safety without literally going out into the world. You could do it from the safety of your bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Which kind of brings me to another question. What do you think stops people from seeing a therapist in times of grief? Either grief, average, normal, whatever you would call it, or complicated.
What stops people? The pain of grief is usually what stops people. So, one of the things that we know about grief is that in order for grief to heal, and remember, grief doesn't go away, but it changes, but in order for those changes to take place so that it becomes lighter, you have to go through the pain. And there's that fear that comes up of going through this pain, of acknowledging how deeply I hurt because I'm missing this person in my life.
So it would seem to me that the instinct would be, if I ignore it, if I press it down and push it away, it will go away.
Yeah, a lot of people try that road. And
how well does that work in your experience?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It comes back. You know, I worked with people who ignored their grief for decades, and it comes up in other ways. Like I was talking about, like manifestations of depression or anxiety,
anger,
or lots of anger, or just not being able to even connect with your family that is still here because they're reminders of what you don't have. So all of those
things isolate and live in a bubble that we're not equipped as human beings to do well in.
No, we need that connection. And when we push away the pain of grief, we're pushing away connection too. And that's also connection with the person that has died.
So it makes it worse.
It makes it worse, and we feel alone. So there's a lot of layers to it, but ultimately, I think what keeps people away most, what I hear from people, is just, it's scary.
Fear.
It's scary to say, hey, I'm going to go and feel all of these emotions I've been trying to avoid.
On purpose.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and feel sad, angry, confused, happy and guilty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes a commitment to wanting to live a better life.
And courage.
And courage.
Yeah.
I can see why people might be frightened.
You know, another thought I have on why people don't, or what happens when people don't engage with their grief and don't feel it and don't connect with the person who has died, is that we can act out in ways that are not typical for us because we're missing part of our internal support. That person that died that was important to you filled a space, and when we push away the pain, we leave that space vacant, right? So it's like you have this building and you've taken a piece of the foundation out, and you have to pay attention to it and repair it. The other building will, you get the Leaning Tower of Pisa if you're lucky. It's
Leaning
just
Tower
crooked.
of personality. Or it could start to crumble.
Or it could fall.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's important to process the grief either through some of the avenues you mentioned or with a therapist. That makes sense.
Yeah, and grief is a normal and healthy process that often people can go through on their own or with their family or in their community. But sometimes additional help is it's help.
Would you say that people have that the ability to go through grief on your own or to need help is an indicator of any kind of strength or weakness?
Not at all.
No?
No.
I would think that people might think, well, I have to be strong enough to do this on my own. It's
No.
weak of me to need help. Everybody else can grieve on their own.
No, I think it's very individual to the person. I think for some people it is a sign of their strength to ask for help because that's an uncomfortable space for them.
To share that feeling and that honesty.
Absolutely.
And to have somebody else glimpse your sadness. But at the same time, it's very safe because you come to a third party who is not engaged in your normal life, who's not a member of your family, your work group, your peer group, your friend group, somebody who might have expectations of you to just get over it. And you can just come and be as wounded as you feel in that moment. And there's no expectation of you to do anything or be anything than what you are.
Exactly.
And I think that could be enormously comforting to have that space.
And that is the exact space that we need in order to keep moving forward while we're grieving.
Yes. And we can't always get that in peer groups. Sometimes support groups can, sometimes they can't. I could see that it would be really helpful to have one person dedicated simply to paying attention to and supporting you in your grief.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you're here for people.
Thanks. I love being here for people. That felt really cheesy. We're going to take that out.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll have to figure out a nice way to close it out. So maybe it's... Well, thanks for those insights, Jen. It's been something I've wondered about for a while. So I appreciate your letting me know from your perspective how it all works.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here with me and doing this video.
Absolutely. This was fun.
I like talking to you. So I'll see you again. I hope you're doing well. And if you'd like to talk with me, you can find me on my website, jenleongtherapy.com. I'd love to hear from you.